I am so thrilled that we get to introduce to you now a dear friend of mine and a beloved community member and IKAR board member, Eric Greene, who has been championing IKAR becoming and manifesting our greatest values and dreams in every aspect of our work and of our community life. And he has been a teacher and a friend for many, many years, and it's really a wonderful gift that you're giving us to share a couple of words with us tonight.
I'm not getting anything out of this. I'm not coming back. Those were the exact words that went through my head at 7 years old, waiting for my mom to pick me up from synagogue Sunday school. And when she arrived, those were the exact words I said to her. And that was it. From camp to Kiddush, Maimonides to Nachmanides, I wanted none of these. I was out. And I stayed out for a long time. So how is it that I'm here now, not just an IKAR member, but an IKAR board member, and giving the Kol Nidre appeal at that? I am a very unlikely person to be delivering this message. I don't have big money or fancy friends. I'm painfully shy. I don't like talking about myself. I'm someone who, like the poet said, was always on the outside of whatever side there was. And above all, I am not a joiner. I worked for the ACLU for a decade and never became a member. College Alumni Association? No. Law School Alumni Association? Hell no. I don't even have a Costco card. But I joined IKAR, proudly. Why? Well, as an adult finding my way back to Judaism, I visited synagogues throughout Los Angeles, a city blessed with so many great teachers and so many great institutions, but none felt like home. But IKAR felt different. IKAR was both sincere and irreverent, intense but joyful, rooted in the past and relevant to the present. Through all IKAR's work, the way it showed up in the Jewish community and the broader community, IKAR seemed to say that someone like me, a working-class Jew of color with no fancy pedigree, at IKAR could be not a stranger, not an oddity, but an actual part of the community. Even though for most of my years here, I couldn't afford to pay for a membership. I was able to be a member because IKAR had a value that financial need should not be a barrier to anyone from participating, and because there were donors who gave enough to allow IKAR to make good on that promise. But what moved me the most was what IKAR was saying about what Judaism could be. IKAR insisted that the prophets of yesterday were speaking to us about the issues of today. IKAR insisted that Judaism could be a force for liberation and compassion and integrity in a world that so deeply needs liberation, compassion, and integrity. And that was the Judaism that brought me back in. But this was not just the doing of IKAR's leadership. It was this whole community of mensches. When Rabbi Brous went on sabbatical last year, I think some worried about how we would fare in those months without her. But I didn't worry, because I knew that we have built not a cult of IKAR, but a culture of IKAR. We all, every one of us, create and sustain that culture. When we show up for strangers who are mourning, when we celebrate the bat mitzvah of someone else's child, when we stand in solidarity with others who need allies, We create this culture when those of us on the board called members during the pandemic just to say, I'm calling from IKAR. Are you okay? Is there any way that IKAR can help? We sustain this culture when, by the power of our intention, through the presence of our reverence, we come together tonight with all our questions and all our doubts and all our regrets and all our hopes, and somehow, together, we transform a basketball gym into a sacred space, a space of inspiration, a space which holds the possibility of rebirth. That's the alchemy of community. That's the spell we can all weave when we create together. And that is worth supporting. Let's be honest, these are hard times. Climate disruptions and water wars, white nationalists on the march and insurrectionists in the Congress, women losing their bodily autonomy, 750 measures nationwide targeting the boogeyman called critical race studies, and over 500 pieces of legislation targeting LGBTQ Americans. That's hard times. And hard times need strong hearts. And hard times also need compassionate communities. Hard times means we have to love harder on each other to get through together. The great James Baldwin, America's Jeremiah, wrote about times like ours. He warned, the sea rises, the light fails. Lovers cling to each other, and children cling to us. The moment we cease to hold each other, the moment we break faith with one another, the sea engulfs us and the light goes out. The compassionate community that we are building at IKAR is a way of holding that sea at bay, of keeping that light shining. Compassionate community is an antidote to despair, an antidote to hopelessness, an antidote to the fear and aggression turning Americans against each other. Communities don't just happen. They're acts of choice. You build a community the same way you build a civil society, one compassionate act at a time, one moment of kindness at a time, one courageous connection at a time, and yes, sometimes one donation at a time. IKAR does a lot. Shabbat services and special events and adult learning and children's programming and community organizing and so much more. And people are noticing what we are doing. In recent years, IKAR's community has doubled in size. But to do more, to serve more, costs more. And I'm telling you, as the unlikeliest of messengers, if you give more, it's gonna feel good. Because what I'm asking you to do by investing in IKAR is to transform your money into the building blocks of community, to support and continue to build a Judaism that is principled and urgent, potent and alive, that gives life to our deepest values and our highest aspirations. Gemar Tov.